Hello, everyone.
Greetings,
Welcome
Internet.
to The Patch. This week's episode is brought to us by Audible.com and Dollar Shave Club. We're going to talk more about them in a bit.
Okay.
Hey, look, you can see them right there. Audible and Dollar Shave Club.
Oh, we have graphics.
It's fancy. All right,
The future is now.
let's get The Patch started. Hit us up there.
Can I have a sound effect for that?
We need to make...
I think you just made it.
Do I have to repeat that every time?
You're allowed a
Well,
variation.
you just made it. I'm sure someone's going to record it and they'll send it to us, and then that's it.
By the way, oh look, there's the special. Look, it happened. It's been flipped. You missed it.
All right, we're ready to go. So
The set's different.
the set's a little
The set is
different.
a little different.
We're bringing I mean, it's, I don't want to get into everything, but we kind of pushed that back a bit to try to get a little more depth. The black grid is not in place yet. That'll be back for next week's show.
Okay. You're like further away.
The desk is a little bigger
not
too.
so much, but you further away.
See, now we have room for the hourglass over there. I don't feel awkward putting my arm up here.
We should put like a chessboard
Holy
here,
shit!
like
you just,
a three-way
You just blew
chessboard.
my mind doing that with the iPad.
By moving
Dude.
things?
Look at there's space. There's so much room for activities.
God damn it! I was just,
We need like Chinese
just doing
checkers so
that
we
one.
can play as we talk.
Or we can get one of those like, I don't know, like a giant Surface tablet in there.
Yeah.
What's the like the
Multitouch.
6-way checkers?
Yeah. Or no, we need one of those big 4K Microsoft Surface things they showed. Yeah.
That's like 85.
Like a
What
low
to
tech.
do flowcharts on?
I mean, we could. I'm sure there's other applications. I'm sure there's like a puddle game where people can pop.
And we keep
There's always a
we keep
There's
Twitter on
always.
there and topics and stuff to talk about.
Maybe Snake.
I made Snake.
There's always Snake.
I mean, it's cutting edge.
Yeah.
Yeah, they own Nokia now, right? Nokia always had Snake on all of their phones.
They did, yeah.
Yeah.
It goes back to QBasic days, doesn't it? That's the origin of Snake. Snake and Gorillas were both in QBasic.
Yeah.
That used to be the only game on my high school computer that you could just get on it and play. It's like, oh, just you exit out to DOS, launch QBasic. It's like, hey, Gorillas.
Does YouTube still do a game of Snake?
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. It was, if you saw the loading screen, like
yeah,
the little
and if
loading
you,
circle.
if you did like one of the arrow keys, then it would just launch into a game of Snake. I don't know if
Yeah.
it still does that, but that was cool.
I don't know.
It was a nice little Easter egg.
Yeah.
I recently, speaking of Easter eggs, just a couple of weeks ago, I discovered that when Chrome can't connect to a website, it shows that little dinosaur. You can play a
Yeah.
little game with him and make
Really?
him
You
jump.
can?
Yeah, jump over cactuses and stuff. I think you just hit the space bar and he
Oh.
jumps.
I've seen a couple different iterations of the little dinosaur. Maybe I missed something, but I like the one where it's like,
Yeah. Well,
By the
now,
way,
now
he's
he
a cute
jumps.
dinosaur.
Mr. Gus Sorola.
Oh, I'm
Oh.
Gus.
I'm Ashley.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Gus. Ryan on top of things today.
Well, I've realized we got this far in. We talked about everything but who we are.
Right, so we were talking about the important stuff like Snake.
So
Snake is important.
speaking of Gus,
All right. In other
Tell
Gus
us more.
news.
in other Gus news, I've become very fascinated lately with watching, not all speedruns, but watching certain speedruns and
So you've been hanging out with Ray.
glitches in games that I've seen reported in the news. Like just recently there was, or I think it was today, or actually technically it was last night, someone became a Tetris Grandmaster. Apparently only the 6th Grandmaster ever.
And only the first outside of Japan.
The first one outside Japan was Kevin DDR on Twitch, and it's such an entertaining video to watch. Like you never think you could get lost in watching a game
In
of Tetris, but watching him play Tetris was like watching a computer program playing Tetris. And he's just so ecstatic and happy. Like I don't know if I've ever been that happy about anything in my life. And
Well,
Oh,
I'm
he's
sure
so
you've achieved
happy.
other
That makes-
things.
yeah, he starts talking in
Seeing
chat.
how happy he is makes me happy.
Yeah, he starts saying, if you're watching this, send me a message. If you're in Seattle, we're going to go out. We're going to hang out.
What you don't realize is that's probably the first time that guy stood up in about a week and a half, right? I mean, he's been there, focused on that game.
Yeah, so he, I guess he did the Tetris speedruns like during
AGDQ.
AGDQ, and he didn't get to that point. The requirements for getting Grandmaster are crazy. So I guess there's like a GM mode that's super hard, and you have to get, I think, or like a master
it's
mode
GM.
or master rank, and then you have to get GM rank in 4 out of 7 of the final levels in that, and then you have a chance of spawning the Grandmaster level.
Which they call, I think, promo exam.
Yeah.
Which that's what the video starts with. He's very excited because the promo exam pops up.
Yeah,
Oh, that
I
would
guess
suck.
he'd actually got to it before, like 4 or 5 times, I think, and failed.
And then
So this time,
that's not only it. Then once you finish it and you get through the whole level, you have to play through the credits, not being able to see the blocks that you've stacked on the bottom
Oh, my
or the
gosh.
blocks that are dropping. You can only see next. and then you have to figure out what you're building, and you have to survive through the entire credits for the game.
I mean, the kind of memory you have to be able to pull that off is just awe-inspiring.
And if you look at the
Basically, like, dude, we think your brain is.
Well, by the time you've played
great.
enough Tetris to get to that point, it's like the Matrix, right? It's just you see it; it's all in your brain there. Like,
Yeah.
you don't need
You just
to
see the letters falling.
You could probably do it with your blindfolded, just touch sensation.
if
Well,
you
I
and
guess
if you
there
look,
are some things where the blocks go invisible when they fall.
yes, that's towards the end of that.
That's one of the things you have to get through.
And if you look in the comments or the description for his video for that run through on Twitch, there's an image with a step-by-step run through of the invisible portion during the credit sequence, showing you what blocks fell where and what he was building. So you can.
So the only way you can see those blocks is like you see them as the upcoming block, right?
And then once
You
you lock
see
them
it
in
land.
place, you see them for just a sec.
Yeah.
Well, not even a second, just like a fraction of a second.
Yeah.
It's totally incredible. And even before this, so this is the most recent one that I've really been fascinated with. I want to say, I think it was last week, Seth Bling did a credits warp exploit on Super Mario World, I guess for the first time ever on console, where essentially you go through the first level of Super Mario World, and it's super technical and complicated. I don't fully understand it, so I'm going to do the best explanation I can here. But I guess
and everybody, make sure you tell Gus why he's wrong
You
in
can't.
every detail.
you have to play the game a very certain specific way, so that basically you're writing memory values into RAM on the SNES,
Wow.
and then you have to be very precise about where you place items, where you destroy items, what you leave, what you don't leave, so that you create this state in the memory of the system, and then you execute something. You basically you hit Yoshi, make him eat a coin at a certain time, and the game doesn't know what to do, so it takes you to credits automatically.
So you're using the game to program a virus into the game.
Yes. So previously, I guess
Wow.
it had only been done on emulators. And
Impressed, Ryan?
I'm pretty impressed.
people weren't sure if it would actually work on an SNES, and this is the first he did it for the first time ever. And I want to say his time initially, I think, was just under 6 minutes, but he subsequently got that time down under 4 minutes now. It's again, just like the other video, it's really interesting to watch. And as he explains the process, like this has to happen, and again, in the description is the very technical explanation of what memory registers are being overwritten and what values are being written into them, and why it triggers this credit sequence.
It's people have made a science out of not playing a game, right? I mean, they've taken it to the level where it's like they play a game that's behind the game.
They've made a science of breaking the game.
Yeah, and it's crazy to me that this is a game that is 20 years old, and he just broke the record. And right before he broke that record, I want to say that the emulator record was also just broken, I think, less than 24 hours before that. So within
Yeah, it was like back to back.
yeah, within a 24-hour window, this 20-year-old game has its world record broken twice.
It's crazy to me. Like, the closest I think I've ever gotten to a speed run of any kind is I memorized like the code to get the final page in Myst, like right at the beginning, and I was like, yeah, I'm fast. I was really proud of myself at the time.
But it's really fascinating.
So what's drawing you to speedrunning? Why do you want to watch speedruns?
I think I like seeing how happy the people are when they do it, because it's like
So you just want to absorb their joy.
I think
you don't
so.
care what they're doing.
Well, it's like they're so intense and they're so like knowledgeable and focused about this one thing, and then they can execute it, and it's just like, I don't know. I feel like sympathy happy. No, that's not right. Like I feel like happy for them and with them. It's
Right? It's like
yeah.
their happipness is infectious.
right. Like I'm learning how to be happy by watching speedruns.
Well, I mean, there's also something to be said for.
Oh,
I mean,
gosh, that's so sad.
It's a sad life.
that is sad. But I mean, you're basically watching someone at the peak of their performance. It's like watching a martial artist, only with much higher blood pressure. They
You don't
the
know that their
precision.
blood pressure is higher.
It could be. That's true. I mean, I imagine their.
Do you think you have to have
chance
high
of
blood pressure to like put your head through a board?
No, my thought is that the higher blood pressure from the people who are sitting in chairs all day playing video games.
Eating Cheetos.
Yeah. I'm
Living
thinking
the stereotype.
the chances of deep vein
Yeah, but
thrombosis
none
are
of
much
those
higher on
guys
the
look
video
like
game
the
players.
stereotype.
yeah.
Like
It's
neither
true.
Seth
That was
Wingard
a-
or Dieter.
Yeah, that guy looked
they
pretty-
both look like
Yeah.
normal people.
Well, if you really want to beat the Tetris, you have to actually lift the blocks as a human. You go outside, that's how he trains, is he just moves Tetris blocks around. It's like Ultimate Warrior.
So yeah, I'm going to go back to that Tetris
Like
guy
the
for just a
nerdiest
minute.
CrossFit ever.
So he was, he's like I said, he's been playing the game for 8 years, and so after he gets the Grandmaster, the video goes on for like another 7 minutes or so, and it's just him super excited, and his friends there with him, and they're like talking back and forth about what happened. And the guy who got Grandmaster, his phone died, so he tells his friend, "Oh, I need you to take a picture of the screen when it comes up, so I can get it." So it's fine. The guy's taking a picture of it.
I was about to panic a little bit.
The guy like takes a picture, and then in order to get to flash up on the screen, he has to start a new game. And his friend's like, "Oh, are you gonna play another game?" And the guy goes, "Fuck no! I'm done with that game. I'm done."
You gotta go out on top.
Yeah, it's like, yeah. Once you get that, I imagine
Never
he's
touch
just
it
like,
again.
I'm never touching that game.
Well, how do you not, though? I mean, you've basically programmed yourself to play Tetris. I imagine you had to play pretty regularly. What do you do with yourself after that?
I don't know. You get a job like sorting mail, like getting all the packages into the delivery trucks at the utmost efficiency
Yesterday,
and speed.
I was the first American Grandmaster of Tetris. Today, letter carrier.
Blindfolded.
Yeah. He actually just pulls up in the middle of the cul-de-sac and just like
Just goes-
starts throwing letters in random directions.
Sometimes they get wrong, but
No.
it works out in the
No,
end.
Gus. They're never wrong.
With enough practice, he'll get there.
He lands each one precisely blindfolded.
But yeah, I love it. It's my new favorite thing.
I just like
I
seeing
feel like I'm
people-
late to the speedrun thing, and people are going to give me shit about it.
I kind of feel like speedruns are sort of an alternate version. They're like the single player version of esports. It's someone who's playing a game on a completely different level. Like they're not playing the game anymore. They're playing something far beyond
Well,
the
that's
game.
what Kevin DDR says. Like he has this description in his his Twitch channel, and he says that he doesn't like playing multiplayer games. He likes playing games where it's him against the machine or him against himself. Like those are the kinds of games that he really wants to get into.
Dude is gonna love the robot overrise thing when the robots take over. He can fight all of the machines.
The robot.
Only if
Look,
they-
I was
thing.
trying.
You
Look,
heard
I was
it here
trying to
first.
get there.
Only if they were attacking precise patterns that never change.
They're machines.
Well, they can have some random. They could have an RNG. It happens all the time.
All right, I'll
I
give
can't
you
argue with
That's
that
how
one.
Destiny constantly defeats me and gives Jack everything.
that. You want to talk about it?
I'm so bitter.
Still playing
So
Destiny,
bitter.
huh?
God, only once in a while.
How's that?
I'm trying to kick
What
the
is
habit.
what is
How's
once in a
Crota?
while?
Crota's fine. He's still there. Once in a while, yeah, I've gotten it down to like maybe I'll do the Nightfall, just trying to get stuff for the next. Because I don't want to. Especially, they've said now that they're going to not break the loot system, which when they released the first DLC, they really broke it in the sense that all the stuff that you worked so hard for was completely worthless
You mean that you had
compared
to like
the stuff.
didn't you have to like reset everything that you'd maxed out in order to
For the
get
exotics,
it
yes.
from eligible for a max level 32 and max level 32?
For the exotic weapons you had and armor, yes, you had to trade them in and they reset on the experience. But the main thing was that your raid level armor was not as good as stuff that you could just go buy, like from the shopkeepers in the stores in the tower. So
Can I just say the shopkeepers are super weird?
there's
There's like the lady with like the inky tears, like she's just like
Eris,
threw,
yeah.
threw a couple bottles of ink in her eyes and was like, "Come buy things."
Also, she's got the
tears.
extra one. I mean, if you want to talk about the weird things, there's 3.
Well, yeah, but I mean, look, we've seen 3s before. There was a lady with 3 boobs in Total Recall. 3 is not new.
There's also
Like,
the
weird
3-boobed
crying
woman in
ink-
Florida who got arrested for DUI.
Wait, she doesn't
well,
actually have the third
It
one,
turns
right?
out it was a fake third boob. Go figure.
Yeah.
The woman didn't have a third boob.
I'm pretty sure that if a plastic surgeon had actually installed one, that would be malpractice of
Installed?
some kind, right?
I
Well,
have- I have
what do you
known-
want to call it?
I
It's
have
an
known
artificial
people-
boot. No, it's not implanted because there's nothing there to implant into. That was installed, man. That would have had to been constructed.
Strapped on.
Yeah, but I have known people with extra nipples.
Right, but they don't have them put there by a surgeon.
No, they don't. But they could have them moved around.
Is that an option?
I don't know. Just like
Look.
it's skin. You just go like, just cut it out. And
I
then
have
just, like,
4
Sew it in
nipples.
somewhere else, right?
I just want them symmetrical. I mean, I don't want you to take it off completely, but if you could just move it around here, we'd be good.
That is absolutely a thing you can do. Like,
No.
This is plastic surgery.
All right, you're
You can
fair.
move all kinds of things, all kinds of places, if you know what I mean.
No,
I don't. No.
I'm completely
Talking about nipples.
okay. We're back to the nipples.
Back to video games. So
You wait. You mean you haven't played Nipple Simulator
I
2014?
have not played Nipple Simulator 2014 yet. But-
It's going to be in the next Surgeon Simulator. It's going to be all about moving nipples.
Yep.
I did try to play Grim Fandango on my PS4 and had some trouble.
Really? What happened?
So I remember it came out, so I went to the PlayStation Store online and I bought it. I was like, sweet, that way I'll buy it and I'll download, and when I get home I'll play it. Went home to play it, and apparently I had a problem that a lot of people are having with the game on the PS4, which is you go to play it, and it says start. You try to start it, but it doesn't start. It takes you to the store, and there's no way to start the download.
So okay.
So the workaround that worked for me was I had to log in to PSN via the web browser and then force start the download from my browser to my
basically do a
PS4.
remote download.
Right. So
Weird.
but it was like a 4 gig download, and I didn't want to wait, so I played more Dragon Age Inquisition.
Dude, I love that game.
All right,
really
tell me about it. How you
Bernie-
liking it?
Bernie's actually like he's for the most part he's refused to be in the room because he loves Mass Effect, he loves Skyrim like I do, and like he knows that this game would be a lot of trouble for him, especially because at the moment he is doing like daily raids and nightfalls and everything with Teddy in Destiny, and so he's
So
like,
Teddy's carrying him still?
oh my god, Teddy is carrying everyone.
Oh yeah, Gavin
It's-
comes in every day and is like, "Oh yeah, we went through the whatever," and Teddy did all the work. We just kind of went with him.
Yeah, he's a wonderkind. But so he's been careful about like even seeing me play the game. He walks in every time he walks in the room. He goes, "That game's really pretty." I'm like, "Yeah, it's Dragon Age." It's just.
Why
there's-
doesn't he want to see it? Does he not want to like have
think he
spoilers?
doesn't wanna get
or?
hooked.
Oh, okay.
I think he doesn't feel like he has time to get hooked right now.
But it's
in the
not like
meantime, in the meantime, I'm like, "Hey, Bernie, come look at the way this light filters down through the leaves."
But it's not like an MMO, like we've talked about before. It's a game with a definitive end and a definitive.
It is, but it's also
definitive
a-
beginning and end.
But it's also, it's a BioWare game, and it's a very long game. If you want to go through and complete all the optional stuff, which, of course, you do.
One does not lightly start a BioWare game. You have to be ready for a commitment.
Yeah, I keep trying to tell myself that I want to try to just plow through the story, and I try to stay focused. But then it's like, oh wait, well there's this other quest.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm just gonna go run and do this, and oh well, there's some red lyrium here.
Yeah, the
and-
trouble is you see all the markers on the minimap and you go, oh, I'm just going to sidetrack to this one thing. And that one thing spawns 10 other things. And then you're in a single area doing cleanup for the next 50 hours.
Right, it's like, okay, my mission is halfway across the map over there. I'm just gonna stop and do those 2 missions on the way because they're on the way. I'd be dumb not to.
Nope. It's not the way it works.
And then you just end up continuing the branching and continuing playing. I have no idea where I am in the story. I don't know.
I think I'm still pretty early on in the story.
Okay.
I'm one of those people that I refuse to do anything in the story until I've exhausted all other options, just in case I miss something.
I did that with Mass Effect 2, I think, and that takes a long time.
Oh yeah, like did you? That's the one where you have to go through and mine all those planets to get all those resources?
I also did that
Oh
with.
my god, that was just. I'm just tired.
I also did that with Fallout 3. Or I tried to do that with Fallout 3, but I ended up ruining the game for myself because I got to Rivet City before I should have, and I circumvented all the free dog quests. So my first playthrough of Fallout 3, I never met Three Dog. Did I call him Free Dog earlier? I'm having
did.
trouble. I never met
You're
Three
close.
Dog on my first playthrough of Fallout 3 because I went to Rivet City as part of another quest, and then all that stuff just like disappeared off my
Wow.
quests.
Okay. Yeah, that can
So
happen.
sometimes, yeah, it doesn't always work out well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm still really liking Dragon Age Inquisition.
Is it? Can I just ask a question? Does anyone else end up running out of potions a lot, or am I just really shitty at the game? Or maybe I'm playing in levels that I'm under leveled for. I'm not really sure, but I feel like
I
don't have a problem. But all the guys around me are constantly dying.
That's what I was going to say. I feel like my party members use potions way more than my main character does.
I adjusted their potion use downward because I think it defaults to like if they go below 30%, they'll use a potion. Come on, don't be a little bitch.
Yeah, I can carry them.
Suck it up.
If they can die. I mean, although I will say I have run into encounters before with really powerful enemies. I'm playing a rogue, like a bow using rogue.
Rogue archer. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
always without fail.
there was a one encounter where it was like a giant demon, and I had a bunch of melee characters with me, so they kept running up and dying. So my whole strategy in that fight was I'm just gonna resurrect whoever's down. So it's like I just kept running around the demon, resurrecting party members who had fallen, and it's like, okay, great, we got through that encounter, no problem. I don't think I fired a single shot.
I've occasionally played a little bit dirty as well, where like if something's chasing me, I'll run to the nearest camp because for whatever reason the monsters don't really come in the camp, so I'll just like go across the border into the camp, and then everyone gets everyone's getting healing, and then go back out and tackle a little bit more at a time.
and to be fair,
It's a cheap tactic.
monsters hate tents, so
I mean, and who can blame them?
Really, yeah. I mean, they're just kind of flimsy and
They don't really keep the moisture out. You're gonna have to sleep on the ground.
shoddy construction, really.
So
They're elitists about that sort of thing, monsters.
there is actually a bit of Dragon Age news, Dragon Age Inquisition news that came out this week that I did want to talk about this week on the patch.
A couple things have happened, actually.
Yeah, specifically the one I have here is, I guess, Dragon Age Inquisition got special recognition from GLAAD, which is the Gay and Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation, for their inclusion of many different types of characters, including an openly gay character.
Yeah, I mean, BioWare's been pretty good about that sort of thing, about that flexibility and letting the players really do what they want in that regard, and which is great.
Well, I think the most interesting thing to me is, a character in Dragon Age Inquisition, a character's sexuality is not the defining characteristic of that character.
No, it's just an aspect.
Right, it's just like more flavor, or it's just like more backstory that fills out. Like if you don't investigate, you don't talk, you don't know. But it's like as you dig in, if you really like start exploring and learning about your party and asking questions about their history, then like the stuff comes out. And I think it's interesting. It's really interesting. It's really cool to see that.
It's also I like that they have characters. It's not just that every character is open to banging you, no matter no matter what. It's that like they
Totally
have characters.
bisexual
It's like,
world.
It's like if you're a chick and that character is not interested in ladies. Guess what? That character's not interested in ladies, and you're just going to be really good friends.
Yep, you're barking up the wrong tree.
Exactly, and that was a thing in Mass Effect 2, and it's like, yeah, but I want to bang them, but I'm going to respect their decisions and respect their preferences, and we'll have a great friendship. So like Mass Effect, but even more so with this particular Dragon Age, they've done more than ever.
Well, I mean, they had openly gay characters in the
lot
last Dragon Age as well.
I didn't play the last one, so I
don't know if it may be
that.
the same character.
Me either.
I think there was a male and a female.
I think there are a couple characters that carry over. I remember hearing that, but I'm not sure who they are.
Yeah,
There was like a blonde
really
guy
need to
that was
go back
from
and play them.
their France or whatever was the.
So
So I guess they really stepped on a lot of stereotypes there, but
Yeah, I played the first Dragon Age, but I didn't play the second one. But yeah, I'm still having a ton of fun with that.
The other bit of news for Dragon Age Inquisition was that BioWare, or I think EA, made the actual announcement that Dragon Age Inquisition is their best launch is BioWare's best launch of all time.
Really?
Like like biggest selling launch, so it's outsold all the Mass Effects in terms of launch window.
Wow, I hadn't read that. I guess that probably came out during their conference call. I think their conference call was
Yeah, it was
yesterday.
during the earnings call.
Okay.
Which is very, very impressive.
That's
and good for
surprising
them.
because I felt like Mass Effect was such a huge series. And
Right, which isn't an indication against Mass Effect, it's an indication in favor of Dragon Age.
there you go. Positive spin. That's what it's all about.
I'm really excited about Dragon Age.
Someone's familiar with marketing and PR.
I just want everyone to be happy.
No, it's a great game. If you don't like, it sounds like you haven't really gotten into it.
Not yet. No, I keep getting distracted. Like right now, I just got distracted by Dying Light coming out. I really like that game. We've been playing around with it. We were able to get it unlocked yesterday, so we have a little extra run time with it. But
What's your experience with it so far?
it's a really fun kind of, I'm having difficulty kind of even comparing it to much, but it feels, if you had to label it something, kind of sort of like a first person Mirror's Edge meets Dead Rising.
Okay.
Because there's like a crafting system, there's a skill system, but you're doing all the free running. They also have that kind of zombie trope where during the daytime the zombies are very slow moving. During the nighttime there's special zombies that are really fast and chase after you.
Vampire zombies, of course.
Oh yeah. Well, actually, it's funny because they have that like split jaw thing from the later Blade movies where the bottom half opens up.
I hate that.
What? What's wrong with that?
I mean, it's like they're zombies. How did their biology change that much?
Oh, it's a virus. They're infected. All right.
Yeah, but
they're all infected.
It regrew their jaws and the muscles required to operate
Look,
the jaws.
viruses
I mean, that's
are dangerous things. Yeah, no, it's
a video
recoding
game.
I know.
It's altering your DNA.
I know it is. I just zombies scare me so much. Like they're already scary. Why do they also have to split their jaw open?
Well, it's okay. You spend most of your time when they show up running for your life.
You won't see it because it's behind you.
Yeah, if you're lucky, they're behind you.
What a comfort.
Which they've added something that I've not had before in a first-person game, which works really well. I mean, you sort of have it in GTA, but if you're running and you hold Y, you look over your shoulder and keep running.
Oh.
Yeah. It's like a little tiny detail, but you just don't see it that
It's
often.
like a rear view mirror.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, it's like you remember they tried to do something similar with a couple of, I think, the the racing games that have Kinect integration, where if you do like this a little bit, then it would like turn to look.
Give you a little field of view shift.
Yeah, but it was one of those weird things because you turn your head, but then you have to like look at the screen to see sort of like what it did.
Just look away from the monitor. It works great, I promise. The monitor shows exactly what you would see if you were looking left.
Yeah, so that maybe seems like a more ideal implementation of that particular feature.
Works really well though. It's got a bunch of, they've been discovering a bunch of different fun little Easter eggs in the game. Co-op on it works great. We tried out one Let's Play so far that'll hopefully come out next week.
How many max players?
4-player co-op, plus you can have a zombie co-op partner, which is an adversary.
Okay, so it can be a 4v1. Man,
4v1,
that's happening a lot these days.
It is, and that's originally that was going to be a pre-order only mode option.
Wow.
But they've unlocked it for everybody now,
Okay.
as I understand
Good,
it.
because that seems like a weird thing to keep only for people who pre-ordered.
Also, it seems like if you're going to play online,
mode.
it limits your pool of potential players. Like, and people are going to see, oh, there's not as many people playing that mode. We're just all going to play the mode everyone has.
Well, no, it doesn't work that way. That's actually the interesting thing. So when the co-op is shared campaign completely, so you can open your game and somebody else can join in. They bring all of their equipment and experience with them, but it runs off of your story progression. Anything that you progress the story in as they also get credit for if they haven't already got it. They can take back all the experience and weapons and levels that they gain. And you can also open that mode up for the possibility of an adversary zombie who is just another player that can join in at any time and become a super zombie chasing you through the world. If
an adversary joins your game, do you know?
Yes, because
I kind of wish you didn't know that.
Like just suddenly there's a super smart zombie that's messing with your mind.
That's running at you. I guess that would be
sort
of like...
That's just what we need, is a super smart zombie chasing you with his split jaw.
I haven't seen that. We haven't actually tripped that yet, but from what Caden was telling me, it flips it to... It pauses your story progression, so if as a adversary zombie joins, it won't mess up whatever you're doing.
Oh, okay.
I mean, they did a lot of things really right with the co-op. All the items are not, are shared, so if something drops, everybody can pick it up.
That's good.
That's good.
And the story progression, the level progression, all that being shared. It's a really good co-op system. If you were looking for a four-player or less co-op game, this one's pretty good.
Sharing loot in a multiplayer game is always difficult. I like the way Diablo did it with sharded loot, but I think... But that creates difficulty with communication, like, oh, well, I didn't get that drop. Did you? This way, everyone has the same drop, and everyone knows what's going on the same page.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
Do you think that has implications, though, for changing the balance of single player? Like, if someone who's not as far along or not as powerful comes in, you get loot drops sort of at your progression level, and then they take it back to their game, and then they're over-leveled for their individual experience?
Yeah, it could happen. I mean, it does seem to be some sort of rarity system to the loots. It seems like you can get better quality weapons, which will have more repair options. It's got kind of an item degradation system to it where you can only repair certain things so many times before it's completely used.
I don't like that.
There's skills that you can get that make it so that you don't necessarily use a repair slot every time.
Yeah, like that was one of my big issues with Dead Island, was that weapons broke down too quickly.
Isn't that a thing with Minecraft as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
But it looks like there's skills in there that'll make it so that it's not that bad. It's much more manageable, which is something that's kind of nice because you can upgrade weapons as well and add, there's mods that you can put on them and I forget what they're called, but they're specific upgrade slots, which I don't even know if those are recyclable yet. Once you socket one in there, it's kind of like the gem system in Diablo.
Okay.
And I don't know if you can unsocket them once.
Okay, so would you say that the Dying Light is a very promising start to games of 2015?
Absolutely. It's funny because Dying Light...
You have to say it.
Yeah, it's a soundbite.
I'd like to say Dying Light is a very promising start to gaming in 2015.
See, now they can put that on their website or on their box cover.
Ryan Haywood. There you go.
Otherwise, they would have had to put ...
Yeah. I agree with what you're saying. Dying Light was one of those games where it had a really interesting trailer that came up, I think it was PAX last year, or was it may have been E3, which showed actually a sequence that I just got through doing, which is kind of your second sundown when all the crazy starts coming out. But then I hadn't heard anything about it. Like, that game went really quiet. Compared to all the other things going out around it, that one went completely under the radar and then has just now launched to very little fanfare, I felt like.
Well, what would you rather? Would you rather see a game hyped very, very high in the lead up to launch, so you have reason and motivation to get it day one and share in that mass, we're all playing it together, day one experience? Or would you rather see something that it does its thing, it comes out reasonably quietly, and then builds momentum? So people aren't all playing at the same time and having the same conversation, but you also don't have to worry about getting overhyped for a game that may be disappointing.
I can see the benefits in both. Right now, I'd say I'd like a slower lead up just so I can continue getting caught up on my back catalog of games.
I am so grateful for this drought.
Traditionally, I like a big opening launch window for a game.
Sometimes it's nice to just really get excited with a whole bunch of people.
Yeah, like that's. I think
and then all get really mad together. It's like a bonding.
Well, I
experience.
think that's what helped Titanfall. It was after the Xbox One launch, people were waiting for the next big game, and that was it. So everyone went out and bought it, and everyone had a blast playing because it was like, this is the game we're all going to play together.
Right.
Well, and Dying Light, for all of the multiplayer in it that is really good and really well done, isn't really dependent on that experience. So if it's a multiplayer only or a largely multiplayer game, it really needs everybody to get out there and play it simultaneously. Whereas this one, yeah, I mean, you could pick up and play whenever.
Kind of, but you also get games that aren't quite like that. Like, I would say Walking Dead is a good example where if you're playing along with other people at the same time and you're going through that like emotional roller coaster, and then you finish and can compare notes. That I think that's also a very powerful thing.
That's really interesting. Also, and that's an interesting game to compare as well because people's experiences can be so different in that game. There's definitely points in the game that are universal across every playthrough, but everything else between those points can be radically different for everyone. So it's really, like you say, it's a good game to go through and be like, oh, well, what happened at this point for you? Or, what did you do with this character? What was your interaction like?
Yeah, it's cool to compare notes on stuff like that.
Yeah.
And do you think those are less spoilery? Because you're probably, like, if you're comparing notes with someone, right, you may be having, like, sharing an experience that you had that they didn't. Does that count as a spoiler?
Leading up to that time, I would have said yes. But now that people understand that game can be so different for each playthrough, I would say no. But as long as you don't spoil the big moments that happen, regardless for everyone.
Okay.
That's my thought on it.
Fair enough.
Here, I'm going to read this right here. I want to remind everyone, this episode of The Patch is brought to you by Audible.com. Audible.com is a leading provider of audiobooks with more than 150,000 downloadable titles across all types of literature, including fiction, nonfiction, and periodicals. Audiobooks are great to listen to when you're stuck in traffic, on the subway or bus, doing chores around the house, at the gym, doing errands, shopping, etc. For our audience members, Audible is offering a free audiobook to give you a chance to try out their service. One audiobook you may consider is Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams, which I just rebought this morning.
And you should absolutely consider it.
Yeah, I'll talk about that more in a second. To download this audiobook for free or another one of your choice, go to audible.com/thepatch. That's audible.com/thepatch. Thank you, audible.com, for supporting The Patch. For your free audiobook, go to that URL right there. I was realizing that it had been years, I think, since I'd read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And I was like, oh, it's perfect. I'll just pick it up and started listening to it this morning.
It's so much better than the movie, too.
Yeah, I remember being disappointed by the
Depends
movie.
on which movie, though. There was also the miniseries starring Martin Freeman.
The original BBC series, right?
Yeah.
I haven't actually seen
Before
that.
he was the Hobbit, before he was Watson,
Before he was Jim.
he was the hit. Oh, yeah. And also before, I think before he was the naked guy in Love Actually, he was
Yeah,
the Hitchhiker
yeah, I
of
think
the
so.
Galaxy.
I hear from that one, though, that didn't, like, Zaphod Beeblebrox have, like, a really crappy
Oh, yeah, it was
inflatable
terrible.
head on his
It was
shoulder?
really
Like,
bad.
terrible VFX.
But I really liked I think it was like a 3-episode miniseries. I'm not sure if I'm remembering it incorrectly, but it was really great. But the book is outstanding.
The 5-book trilogy.
Yeah.
The increasingly inaccurate 5-book trilogy.
I'm really, really excited to go back through it. I can't remember the last time I read that series. I'm really, really excited to be back into that.
Well, a couple last things I want to say about Dying Light. It's got a really fun, like, side quest system. Well, not fun, but there are side quests in addition to the main quest, optional quests that you can do. And it's funny that you mentioned that about Grim Fandango, because I'm having the same problem with Dying Light, where it's downloaded. If I click on the icon, it fails to start. But if I go to the Manage Store page and pop it up and play now from there, then I can do it.
Weird.
Yeah. It's really odd. I feel like I don't want to take the time to re-download it.
Was there like
but-
a recent software update that maybe messed up some of that stuff?
Well, you could always just set the download to go, like, once you leave
Yeah.
for the day. I mean, just delete it and then restart the download and go home and deal with it when you come back in the morning.
Yeah, it only happens on my work computer or my work Xbox. My home one doesn't have that problem.
How many
So-
people do you think can talk about their work Xbox?
How
Do you
many
think there's a
people-
lot of people who have like, oh, that's my work
Anybody
Xbox.
with a dev console, maybe. Anybody that works in the video game industry, come on, there's not that few of us.
It's an unusual thing to hear. You have to admit that.
Yeah. It's still a very small.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, no, it's great. If you can do it, if you can swing it, go ahead.
Go for it. Splurge, pick yourself up a work Xbox.
Yeah.
It's totally worth it. So I read also in other things that are going on that there's going to be Spotify integration on the PlayStation platform. And they said that you're going to be able to listen to Spotify playlists while playing games on your PS4, which made me think back to the old original Xbox feature where you could rip CDs and play audio.
Yep.
But it was a feature that nobody implemented.
A lot of racing games had it.
Right.
Yeah, it's that sort of thing is great for racing games. I always wonder if if I were having a single player game, if I was a developer of a single player experience that I had crafted, I'd probably hate that feature. Like someone's gonna put on their like Taylor Swift and just completely ruin the experience that I've tried to make for them.
Which is why I think most devs didn't incorporate that feature.
Yeah.
Well, I can't remember what game I was playing, but it was one that I think it was not a racing game where all of a sudden just random music popped up during the course of playing the game. It's like, what the hell is going on? Before I realized it was a friend of mine's Xbox that he'd ripped some music onto. It was like, that was so out of place. It was so jarring to hear like regular radio music playing during some scenes in a video game.
It would be cool though if you could have like depending on the integrations, like let's say the new GTA, if there was a radio station
that I
you
would
could go
like.
to that would just like play your music.
Yeah, I really wasn't. That's probably my biggest gripe with GTA 5 is I really didn't like any of the radio stations as much as I had in previous games. Like I could never settle on one. And most of the time I just drove with the radio off as a result.
There's some, I think on GTA PC, you could actually program your own radio station.
When does that come out again?
I don't know, GTA 5 maybe. I don't know.
March, bruh.
Yeah, sometime March 28th, I think is the tentative.
I was looking I looked at the date yesterday and went, oh.
Sure.
Like we're
Fingers
all sad
crossed.
for everybody today.
I wanted to clarify something real fast. Apparently Spotify is going to be available on the PS4 and PS3, not just PS4. Like I
And
said.
they're also retiring Music Unlimited.
Oh, okay. Will that icon finally go away? I never use that icon.
I mean-
it's so weird.
I guess if they're sunsetting the feature, probably.
Okay.
And I think that's going away in March.
Okay.
I think
This
something like that.
Talk about music reminds me of something that happened when I was in college where I was just hanging out in my dorm room and all of a sudden my computer, of its own accord, just started playing this weird, spooky, creepy music. And I couldn't understand. It's just like, I mean, no one was touching it. It just all of a sudden started slow, eerie music. It's like, what the hell is going on? And I'm looking at it and I'm like unplugging the speaker and plugging it back in and it keeps coming out and keeps coming out. Turns out, if you remember the game Dungeon Keeper,
Yeah.
it had on CD audio. And for some reason, my CD player on the computer had launched and just started playing the soundtrack to Dungeon Keeper. Or I think it was Dungeon Keeper 2.
Yeah, that's really bizarre.
It was one of those hybrid discs where you
Yeah.
could put it in a CD player and it would play the soundtrack. So yeah, it was just very odd that it suddenly launched itself and played really creepy sounding
I can
music.
see how it would be weird for that particular music to come up.
Right, yeah. I mean, it was very eerie. I wish I had a good sample of it, but yeah, it's just very eerie music to suddenly start coming out of your room. Well, and the other thing was, initially, since no one was touching the computer, we had no reason to even look at the computer. We were just like looking around
Just
the
there was
room trying to
music
figure out
coming
where
at
this
you.
weird music. It was like life suddenly had a soundtrack and we were about to be murdered.
It's and what a great soundtrack as well. It's like, oh, something bad's really gonna
It was
happen
like,
right
oh
now.
shit, movies are right.
Man, I love game soundtracks. I used to go into like the pack files or whatever it took, and I'd actually rip those out so I could listen to them whenever. Those are the days.
I miss those hybrid discs when you would put them in and be like, oh, let's launch the audio player and see if it actually plays anything. And be like, oh, wow, awesome. There's actually stuff there. I remember I want to say it was when the original Xbox first came out that you could pick up your pre-ordered game discs like 4 or 5 days before you could get the console. So I went to my GameStop and I got my discs, but I had no console to put them in. So I put them into my PS2 and just to see what happened. And the intro, like the Xbox logo at the beginning, apparently was just like an MPEG-2 file because I put it in my PS2 and it played that. And I was like, holy shit, that's crazy.
So weird.
Yeah, then of course.
At first,
nothing
did you
else
think it was going
happens.
to play the game for you? And then it was like,
I'm stupid enough
psych.
where I'm like, oh, it might. No, not at all.
Of course not.
Yeah. But it's just like, I used to like doing that. You're just trying to put a piece of physical media in another device to see what would happen.
And be like, what kind of abomination will this create?
That's what we're missing nowadays. There's not enough crossover media, right?
Well, now
things were like DVD from an Xbox disc that also is a DVD. I feel like kids' games would be great for that.
Now the closest you get is cross-buy titles, right?
Yeah.
or you buy your downloadable game and get a free soundtrack that you also download.
Right. That goes somewhere that you can't even find.
Right.
I did that with what was the? I did that with a game recently. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, like it took me ages to even figure out where I downloaded to because Steam puts them in somewhere weird.
Yeah, it does.
I don't think I've ever picked up a soundtrack through Steam, so I can't speak to that.
Yeah.
I'm not a big music guy.
I'm not either, but I like game soundtracks. Like there's like an RPG. Well, it's mostly RPGs, but a couple of other games. It's a streaming radio station online that I sometimes go to. Except I have to be careful when I listen to it because I'll find myself getting really stressed out and not know why. I'll just get like agitated and then figure out that it's because it's like boss fight music from a game that like just took me hours to beat.
You're
like,
somehow like
10 years
osmotically
ago.
absorbing stress.
Yeah. And it's just that like memory stress.
The stress of boss fights past.
Yeah. And that muscle memory, you go.
You just tense up.
Yeah.
It's a good workout. You flex.
I don't
relax.
I don't need no gym. I have boss fight music.
I guess Microsoft also recently announced that in the holiday quarter they shipped 6.6 million, or they sold 6.6 million
Shipped
Xbox
or
Ones.
sold?
It's a
The
big...
headline says shipped. I assumed it was sold. You're right. I should have double checked that. It just says shipped.
I don't feel like publishers do themselves any favor by claiming shipped numbers because then when they come through and say, "Oh, this is how many we sold," because they're really excited, it's never that high a number. And it just remember it was not last year, but it was right after GTA 5 came out, and Activision was like, "We shipped $500 billion worth of Call of Duty,"
Right.
and then it was how much did they sell? Like a third of that,
Really,
maybe? And so it's like even though that third was a really impressive number, it paled in comparison to their shipped number, and it sort of took the wind out of the accomplishment.
You're just telling the world how many copies of your game will someday be unearthed from a landfill.
This is, or if you want to draw it out even further, it's like this is how many copies we thought we were going to sell, and then we sold that.
This was
many,
our
actually.
expectations and reality.
Yeah.
Yep. So I just, I'm sure that they are, selling, like at some point those will sell through.
Well, now with the new extended
Mark it
promotional
down.
price of
Yeah,
$350,
knock it down
Extended
a couple times.
forever.
extended question mark.
Who didn't see that coming?
Fine. I know we certainly did because we're smart.
We're farseers.
We're on top of that.
Well, speaking of Microsoft, though, so on the heels of all that we talked about with the HoloLens, which
was great.
well, they apparently have showed it to a lot of different news outlets, and all of them are speaking. Well, all the ones I've seen so far speak very highly of it. Yeah. So maybe my dire predictions were not going to come true.
I've read all of those positive feelings that people have or that journalists have about it.
The positive feelings.
What was the word? The positive
Gus is
impressions.
reading all
the
about
positive
the
impressions
feelings.
that
Gus is all about the positive feelings right now.
And
It's because of the speed runs.
I don't want to get my hopes up.
Well, the only negative I've heard so far is that the FOV isn't necessarily that wide, which I mean that's the same issue that you have with Oculus. Really, is how big can you make the FOV? But
Well, Oculus's FOV isn't that bad, right?
no, it's not bad. I mean, for what it is, it's really good. This one I think maybe a little bit more limited. But yeah, I'd be really interested to see. It's when you bring things into 3D space in real life, the depth issue, when it comes to interacting, is where the sticking point usually lies. So how it is controlled will be critical to that applications. But as far as just projecting stuff in the world, things are sounding really positive.
And I believe also that I've seen since our discussion that you actually don't need markers in your space to define surfaces.
And did you see the actual demo where they showed the lady working with it, and then they had
The 3D printed drone thing?
Well, they eventually showed the 3D printed drone, but she was building it there on stage. And then every now and again, you'll see that camera in the corner that has the little drop-down goggle things in front of it to provide the image so that you could see it on a camera and not just through your eyes. Yeah, I mean, again, if they can deliver what it looks like they've got in store and make it so that the battery will last longer than 5 minutes.
Yeah, I think the things that from the impressions I've seen is people say that currently they're working on the battery still. That you have to wear like an additional auxiliary pack, but they're going to get rid of that for the final production model. which, yeah, I mean, that's huge.
Yeah.
And
I'm excited. I'm
when
looking
people
forward to it.
talk about the Apple Watch, which we still don't know a whole lot about, that's the thing they always ask is, what's the battery life on that thing going to be? People want.
I thought they talked about it a little bit, and it's supposed to be like terrible.
Well, yeah.
Like an 8-hour.
What has
for a
come out
battery,
is
it's not.
that it'll last supposedly 19 hours, but if you use it heavily, it'll last 2.5.
Yeah.
Wait,
And
are we
I
talking?
would be using it heavily.
Wait, are we talking the Apple Watch or are we talking HoloLens?
Apple Watch.
Okay.
Apple
just
Watch,
checking.
yeah. No, I mean, hey, it's a great device as long as you don't use it.
Yeah.
It lasts forever.
Meter here, 150 minutes a day. Or it's like you walk around plugged into your computer like with a USB cable charging, and then you just use it whenever you stand up.
You know what I think I like about the HoloLens is that it's a different approach. It's instead of going with the full VR route, they're going with augmented reality, and they're doing something different. I like that we get the developments of both Oculus and Project Morpheus and HoloLens.
I'm normally super skeptical and I hate everything. Let it be known. This is the one time I'm getting on the hype bandwagon. As soon as they announced it, it's on the record.
Can we get a box quote?
I'm excited for HoloLens.
Gus, I like to say, I think that speedrunning has made a really positive impact on your
I think we
life.
should watch a lot more of them.
I think you're turning it around.
I'm speed running right to the positive feelings. Here, I'm going to read this. I want to remind everyone this episode of The Patch is also brought to you by Dollar Shave Club. Everyone here in the studio loves getting their razors delivered from DollarShaveClub.com. They ship them straight to our doors for a couple dollars a month. I can't imagine shaving without them. But I have one question. Why isn't everyone a DollarShaveClub.com member? You don't need to worry about commitment. DollarShaveClub.com has no contracts. If you don't want razors for a month or two, they won't send any and you don't pay a dime. There's no hidden fees. In fact, there's no fees at all. Just pay for the stuff you order. They even have free shipping. Get their 4-blade razor and 4 replacement blades sent to your door each month for $6 including shipping. Their razors are amazing, and if you aren't 100% happy, DollarShaveClub.com will refund your money, no questions asked. There's absolutely no reason why you shouldn't be a member of DollarShaveClub.com. Stop hesitating. Go sign up at DollarShaveClub.com/patch right now. You'll be happy you did. That's DollarShaveClub.com/patch. Seriously, $6 a month versus however much other money you're wasting on razors. It's a no-brainer. You may as well do it.
And that way you also don't run into that problem where like you get one razor and you're like, oh yeah, 2 days. Second razor, let go for a week. Like the last razor, 6 months?
Yeah,
No problem.
you don't want that.
I mean, I don't really need my epidermis, right? We just could scrape that off.
It's always funny too when you go from a blunt razor to a sharp one. You go, oh yeah,
Oh, God.
that's what it's supposed to be like.
My face is still here.
Yeah, just like it's so smooth compared to like not quite smooth anymore.
Yep.
So
I feel like it lasts longer too.
yeah, hey, look at you. It's a beauty shot. So the weirdest story I read this week was Joystick reporting on the rumor that they were getting shut down. So I guess that was a big
But it's-
rumor hit
I
a
mean,
couple days ago.
It's sort of like that's their cheeky kind of style though.
Yeah, but who was it? Like, I if I recall properly, another news site contacted them asking about the closure, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we didn't hear about that."
Right. That's gonna be awkward.
Yeah. So I guess Recode is the one who reported AOL is likely to shutter Joystick. They still haven't officially said anything or done anything, but apparently that's a rumor that's going around that a lot of people are believing at the moment.
I would hope not. I like Joystick a lot. I mean, they've been around for a long time. They're awesome.
It's I think they're one of my go-tos for news, for video game news. Them and Polygon, I
Yeah,
I
they're
read
a
pretty
good group of
extensively.
people.
The biggest news to me out of that was that AOL apparently owns Joystick.
Yeah, that was the news to me too. I was like, wait, what?
I didn't know AOL still owned anything.
Yeah.
I think they also own Engadget. They own a big network.
So that's
There's
how they still exist, right?
I think they also own WoW Insider and Massively,
Yeah, they're all in the same
like the same sort of
family.
network.
Yeah. So there you go.
All right. Well, hey.
Apparently, AOL's been doing well lately. Actually,
What?
I
Doing
heard.
what? What do
I
they
guess
do?
these sites that are doing well for them.
I see.
Like they're
Okay.
doing content creation and entertainment. So they still exist. They're not mailing you free CDs anymore, which is probably good for their bottom line.
I used to have so much free internet because I just like make a new email address every single time.
Yeah, and everyone had a stack of floppy disks
Oh yeah,
that they just repurposed.
like 50 free hours.
I don't know if I ever paid for a floppy disk because AOL would just send them. I guess once they moved to CDs,
Yeah.
but No one ever used floppy disks anymore past that. You know, a few years ago when we were at the downtown office at Rooster Teeth, we had a computer that wouldn't boot, and to fix it, I needed to find a floppy drive and a floppy disk.
Wait, what?
In 2008.
So you contacted a paleontologist who unearthed one.
I found one.
Wait, you mean like an archaeologist?
No, I was making a joke about how old they were.
Oh.
Yeah,
Yeah, I-
No, that's
something
clever.
from yeah.
That's
thank-
clever.
I think
Okay.
I think I found the floppy drive at a Goodwill, and I found
my God.
an Office Max that still sold floppy disks, and I bought like
Really?
a 10-pack. Yeah.
That's crazy. Do you still have like the other 9?
Yeah, it's like I just need one for like 5 minutes, but I guess I'll pay your $20 or whatever. It's like now they know if you show up at a store looking for a floppy disk, you're fucked, and you're gonna pay whatever they tell you you're gonna pay for
You
that.
have no other option at that point.
Right.
I feel like the only thing that you would need that for, though, is like some super government computer that hasn't been updated since 1984. Probably something with a DARPA logo.
Or like some crazy old game maybe.
There you go.
Yeah, got to set up your bootloader. EMS equals RAM, all that.
DOSBox.
Yeah.
Oh god.
So I've never actually played a game in the Witcher series. I'm very
Really?
interested in them. The Witcher 2 looks really beautiful.
It was a very
and
pretty game.
Witcher 3 is coming out soon. And it's coming out on
if
consoles
it would
as well.
please stop getting pushed. That's a request from me, please. I just want it.
So apparently on the PC, Witcher 3 can import save data from Witcher 2, and things you did in Witcher 2 will affect
I need to go finish that
3.
game.
But apparently they cannot do that save file import on consoles.
Well, because it's going to be cross-generational, right?
I'm not sure if that's the only reason, but yeah, I mean that's
That's probably like
that's
one of the bigger
things.
things, because I know that like Rockstar could do that because they could go through Rockstar Social Club, like through your account that way. That's how you had to carry it over.
The cloud transfer, basically.
Yeah, but I think it's a very similar thing. Dragon Age Inquisition couldn't quite do it. Like you had to like import your thing to a website, and then it would make the decisions, and then import them back down. Going cross generational is just tough.
Well, I feel like they found an interesting solution for that with Witcher 3, which is if you set up in the settings when you first start the game that you want to affect the state of the world, early in the game you encounter an NPC who asks you what you know about the history of the world, and you go through a conversation tree about things that you know that have happened in the world, and it sets the world up that way.
It's like a quiz where you're right no matter what.
Right, where essentially you're shaping the world. Like you can skip playing a whole game and just do that. Which, as dumb as it sounds, this makes me want to go back and play Witcher 2 on the PC now. That way I can play Witcher 3 on the PC as well and get the full experience instead of just having the abbreviated conversation.
They did something like that with
Effect?
It was Mass Effect, because was it the first Mass Effect that wasn't available on PlayStation?
Correct.
And so they had I think they ended up releasing it for Xbox as well, but they had a thing where you could go through and make decisions about the game.
It was essentially a graphic novel that you would go through and make those decisions.
Yeah. I like having games that have custom worlds. Didn't take advantage of it in Inquisition. I just went default world's fine.
But
I don't know.
in the Mass Effect example, I think that's why people were so upset with the ending. Is your decisions were so important across 3 games. You kept importing those save files, and then it boils down to the end, and maybe it didn't have as much impact as you thought it would after having made all these decisions for so long.
Yeah, the Mass Effect ending is that's a really tough thing. When I was playing it, at the time, I was so emotionally overwrought that I actually didn't absorb that it was. I didn't feel at the time like my decisions didn't make an impact. For me, the ending started when you get into that final town, that final destroyed city, and you see. You had like that final goodbye with all the characters, and like I saved Rex in the first game, and he's there being like, and like all the people that I saved. Like for me, that was a big part of the ending, was revisiting the impacts that I did have, and then in the end making the decision, which races live and die. While I don't think that it was illustrated properly, and I never played the DLC ending. Like when I finished the game,
right.
I was like. Okay, I'm done.
You're ready to put
and
it down.
that was it. Like I was like,
it was your Tetris.
I've completed. Yes,
I am the Grandmaster.
And so I felt like my decisions were shown and reflected through that entire ending period. Not just
It wasn't just
not
the
just
final
the which gate
part. Yeah.
No,
I agree with that.
But I can also see why people would be upset, because they in the end they are illustrated as 3 different colors with very similar endings, and you only get a hint of the impact. You don't actually get to see how the whole future unfolds as a result of that decision.
Yeah, I was at the time, I played through. I was essentially happy with it, and I still think it was okay. It could have been better, but I was not one of the legions of pitchfork and torch wielding people who are upset by it.
By the way, I will throw out about Witcher. Witcher 2 was great, but I would not play Witcher 1.
No one ever talks about Witcher 1, so I figured that was the case.
I picked it up on like a Steam sale. It is very rudimentary compared to Witcher 2. It is a hard step back.
My biggest gripe with The Witcher is that the main character's name is Geralt.
Geralt.
What's wrong with that? I just want to read it as Geralt.
Okay, read it however you want. Everybody's going to call you Geralt because they talk.
They're all pronouncing it wrong.
Yeah.
But it is gorgeous, and it's gorgeous in a very similar way to like Dragon Age Inquisition, where you just want to I'm going to go that way for a couple of hours. I think I'm just going to wander that way. And it's beautiful.
I had really no expectations when I started playing that game, and it was much more open than I thought it was going to be. Also, just a heads up for anybody that isn't aware, nudity. Lots of nudity.
I'm downloading it right now.
I mean, it starts with boobies.
On the iPad.
Immediately.
I'll be right back.
I'm looking forward to 3. I think it's going to be really
yeah.
And the developers have come out repeatedly against paid DLC.
Mm-hmm.
They're
CD
cheeky,
Projekt Red?
Yeah, CD Projekt Red, and they've they're saying that they're releasing 16 different pieces of DLC for free. I think it's 16 after the game comes out, and that's the individual DLC pieces are pretty small. A lot of them are like skins or an individual quest or something like that.
I hope the first one is horse armor.
I think one of them is absolutely horse armor.
Nice.
But I think it's a statement. Just saying that you should be putting stuff in the games regardless.
That's cool. It's admirable.
It is.
On the note of DLC, at PAX South this past weekend, at the Gearbox, leading up to the Gearbox panel, there were a frenzy of rumors that they were going to announce Borderlands 3 and show it off there, and they didn't.
Can I just say that was a stupid rumor in the first place?
Yeah.
Looking at the timing, they just announced that they're bringing Borderlands 2 and Borderlands the pre-sequel to the current gen consoles. Why would they fuck with that announcement by saying, yeah, Borderlands 3 coming holiday 2015?
Yeah. Also, don't even bother. Just buy the new one. Here it is.
So I feel like I can see why we want it. I'm looking forward to a Borderlands 3 announcement, but I just don't think that it was a reasonable assumption to be making at that panel. Although they did hype it up, saying we're going to have cool announcements and stuff. So I can see why people would be like, oh, this is the announcement that I want. Therefore, that's what's likely.
They instead announced that Lady Hammerlock is joining the Borderlands the pre-sequels playable lineup coming soon.
Yeah.
I feel like you've stumbled on a really fun game though. Now we should just go to PAX and different conventions and try to start the most outlandish rumor possible.
That would be a fun game to go and see who can get a rumor picked up by a major news organization and run.
You come with some fake technical documents. You just kind of drop them on the floor.
Or some fake promo material and just like you said, just plan them around.
Sony
around
has
the booth.
That, next month, maybe the 18th of February, something like that, they're doing some sort of event in New York where they're going to announce a new initiative. Just saying.
Is it patch on location? Rumor starters?
It's Music Unlimited.
You know what's better than talking about the news?
Music Limited.
You know what's better than talking about the news? Deciding what the news is going to be.
That's going to be our new. That's going to be the new line for the patch. It's going to be on the box when it's in store shelves. But Randy Pitchford and Gearbox also said that they would like to begin working on Borderlands 3, and they put a call out for people who want to work on the series to apply for work.
So basically, they're saying we should hire developers at some point, which tells me not in development.
Yeah, unless it's a clever
maybe
well, it depends on what they're looking for.
Maybe the concept.
Yeah.
Point of development where they're still looking at the core team deciding this is maybe what the game should be, but they're not developing it.
I mean, if they're looking for asset makers, then that means they're ready to go. If they're looking for concept guys, then it's like, it'll be a while.
Yeah.
If you want to work in the game industry, Gearbox is hiring. We will
for something. We don't know what.
And all you have to do is probably move to Dallas.
They were. I want to say they were pretty vague in that job posting. What did they say?
A truck.
The recruiting
and a gun.
They give up seeing trees.
So you would have, in order to apply, you have to be described as an industry badass, and you gave no other
Can I get that on a resume?
Qualifications.
Which tells me it's like, so they're saying, hey fans, if you want to be involved, but only if you have a really extensive development
Yeah.
degree.
Here's,
like
here's how you get it.
All right.
Ryan Haywood is an industry badass. Now you can put that as a quote on your,
I like
on your
it.
resume.
Thanks, Gus. You know who else is an industry badass? Gus Sorola.
I'm right here.
You want it? You want some of this?
Sure.
Hey, Gus.
What? What's
you know
that?
who I hear is a really big, huge industry badass?
Who's a big industry badass?
Ashley Jenkins.
Wow.
All I heard was Ryan says I have a big ass.
A bad ass. A big badass.
It's all droopy.
No, that's sad ass.
There
Are you
go.
an industry sad ass?
In other news,
Speaking of the industry, Jeff Keighley confirmed that they're doing another video game awards show at some point this year.
that's great. I was skeptical. I wasn't sure if he'd be able to pull it off, but he did an amazing job.
The Game Awards.
The game,
And
until someone iterates it again, and it just becomes the awards.
TGX.
So do you think they'll go like the Alien route and this one will be the Games Award?
The Games?
And then the Games Award 2, 3. They went to 3, right?
Until you get the Games Awards, sponsored by Games.
Games. And then, well, that'd be Games Resurrected.
No. You have it all figured out.
Working down the line.
So we're pretty much out of time. I just want to last bit a couple things I want to mention before we go. So there's a trailer out now or a teaser trailer out for the Dead Rising movie. It's as terrible as you expect. And also the 20th anniversary PS4 with serial number 1 sold at charity auction for $130,000. I tell you, I would have paid $500 for it. I think
wow.
they should have sold it to me.
Number 1.
$600. I give him a little extra for that.
I like that it went to a good cause, though. It's one of those things where it's a lot easier to open your incredibly large wallet, apparently, when it is for a good cause.
If you got that kind of wallet to drop on something like that, that was probably nothing to you, but
Right.
go higher. Why not?
But it's,
I throw it out
it's
there.
cool to have.
I challenged all you rich people with $100,000 to throw on a PlayStation.
Also, I'm not sure if we talked about this before. I'm not sure if it was on the list, but you guys are aware of the thing that's been happening with Ubisoft games?
What?
You know?
They're-
Okay.
they're gonna
Well,
work
this is gonna be
now?
Great. No.
Oh.
No. Okay.
No.
So over the
She's so excited.
So over the weekend, a whole bunch of games went missing from users' Uplay libraries. Digital games, mostly Far Cry, but I guess like Watch Dogs and some other games were affected as well.
Yeah.
And there's no explanation. They just went missing. And then Ubisoft came out and said it's because they were stolen. They were
stolen.
The keys,
Stolen digital games.
Yes. The keys were basically purchased from key strippers like G2A or something like that, where they typically they'll buy a bunch of games overseas, strip out the keys, and then sell them in higher profit markets at a discount to make a profit. But in this case, the games were all actually purchased with stolen credit cards.
Oh.
And so they took those keys, revoked them all, and said, "You went to a shady retailer, go deal with them."
Oh.
Wow.
Wow.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know how to feel about that.
Kudos to them if you use a shady retailer. Like if you're buying a AAA title that's $60 everywhere and you find a site selling it for $15, you know you're getting it illegally.
But some people really don't. They're like, well, Steam sale has really good deals. Why couldn't this as well? Some people don't look into it. I understand that it's one of those it's a weird gray area when you talk about digital stuff, because if it was a physical good and somebody stole it from your house and sold it, and it was found by the police would take it back from whoever purchased it, because they purchased stolen goods even unknowingly, and they would give it back to the proper owner.
Right.
That's like, this is digital goods, so it's not quite the same, because they didn't take it from anyone.
Right.
But they still
they
stole
sort
a
of
credit
did.
card.
But they were using stolen credit cards, so a lot of people are upset, saying, well, I didn't know, and now my game's been taken away.
Well,
This
I think
this sucks.
this would be a great way to get audience feedback. So why don't you tweet us what you think about it? Hashtag the patch, and maybe we'll discuss it and follow up a little more next episode.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for watching.
Yeah, and we'll see what else Ubisoft has to say.
All right.
And our desk will get bigger.
Bye.